So as you can see in your program, we're going to be soon releasing you guys to attend the breakout sessions. There will be 3 opportunities to attend the breakouts. There's 1 session tonight and 2 sessions tomorrow. And please note that not all the breakouts are being repeated, and some happen only once. You'll find a complete list of breakouts on pages 6 and 7 of your program. And on page 8, you will see the breakouts and their locations for tonight. As far as locations go, all the 100 rooms are on the first floor of this building, and the 200 rooms are on the second floor of this building. The Sycamore rooms are also located on the second floor, and those breakouts that are being held in the South Hall, that's here, are held right here in this room. You'll find signs and volunteers to help you find these breakouts. The Fairfield students with the black I Heart t-shirts in Espanol will be providing those directions for you, so you can just look out for them. Tonight's breakouts are going to begin very soon, so as soon as you're dismissed from this room, please move, not now, but please move as soon as possible to your breakout space so that we can reconvene here around 9:15. Also, if you're planning not to attend a breakout session, you need to leave this room because this room is going to be used for 4 breakout sessions. There's 1 change to your program. The social justice and the theater presentation is being only offered tonight, not tomorrow. So that's a change to your program. Second, again, just a note about time, to move as quickly as possible to your breakouts and to move as quickly as possible back when you're done. And finally, the breakout sessions that are being held here in this room. If you turn to page 8 in your program, the breakout listings for this room are listed at the bottom, starting with Simple Living, Walking in Solidarity. And that breakout will be held, if you think about this room in terms of corners, that breakout will be held in the corner. If you're facing the stage, the front corner on the right-hand side. If you're thinking about attending Bringing It Back Home, that breakout will be held in the front left part of this room, if you're facing the stage. Political Ministry and How Our Catholic Faith Teaches Us to Be Young Advocates will be held in the back left of this room, and Asking the Right Questions will be held in the back right of this room. Thank you very much.
Hang on, we're getting ready to move. We'll ask you to, when you move, we're going to ask you to move quietly. We ask you to leave your breakouts on your way back here by 9:10 so that we're ready to go at 9:15. We have some great speakers. We have 2 after this. You do not want to miss either one. Francisco.
Everybody together, let's get up. Pa defender la dignidad. Can you say pa defender la dignidad? Pa defender la dignidad. If you can say it, you can sing it. Pa defender, let me hear you. La dignidad y proteger el bienestar en nuestra unión, la que nos da fuerza de pueblo que no se sabe rajar. See everybody back here. 9:20, 9:30. Please join us. Come on back. Pa defender la dignidad y proteger el bienestar en nuestra unión, la que nos da fuerza de pueblo que no se sabe rajar. 9:30, see everybody back here. 9:15, 9:15. Hey! Otra vez, one more time. That was a little scattered. But I believe in organizing, and we can organize our applause together. We can change the world. That came from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 35, verse 3. All right, ready? You remember the mustard seed story? It's a little verse after the mustard seed about the moving mountains. Okay, we can applause together. Ready? Hands out, everyone together. Listos, juntos. 3, 2, 1. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó, raza? All right, together. 1, 2. All right. One last time, and we'll really tune this thing up together. Ready? Here we go. All right. Together with me. No más. No more. Shout the hills of Salvador. Echo the voices of the world. That's you and I. We cry out. No más. No more. If you can sing it, you can say. If you can say it, you can sing it, and vice versa. No más. No more. One more time. No más. No more. I'm just hearing the center. Very good. The center. Es todo, órale. Let's hear over here from our left stage and right stage. No más. No more. All right, together, center and right. No más. No more. Over here on the left. No más. No more. And come on in, everybody, take your seat. Everyone, come on in, everybody, take your seat. Here we go. No más, no more. Shout the hills of Salvador. Echo the voices of the world. Echo the voices of the world. Echo the voices of the world. We cry out, no más, no more. Together, no más, no more. Shout the hills. Echo, echo the voices of the world. We cry out, we cry out. Let me hear you. No más, no more. We will stop this dirty war. Compañeras, compañeros, we cry out. No más, no more. A little weak. We're not gonna close the SOA this way. Together, strong. 1, 2, 3. No más, no more. Shout the hills. Echo, echo the voices. We cry out. Stronger, no más, no more. We will stop this dirty war. Compañeras, compañeros, compañeras, we cry out. What? What do we cry out? No más. No más, no more.
Peace be with you. That was pretty good. Let's try that again. Peace be with you. For those of you standing, I invite you to please take a seat. If there's an empty seat available, it is now yours. We got a few shout outs while we get people moving to their seats. DeSmet, Jesuit High School. Walsh, Jesuit High School. St. Joe's Prep, Philly. Regis Jesuit High School. St. Ignatius Loyola, New York. Notre Dame, San Jose. Bellarmine College Prep, San Jose. Brebeuf Jesuit, Indianapolis. Sacred Heart Prep, California. San Gabriel Mission High, California. Xaverian Brothers High School, Massachusetts. Flint Ridge Sacred Heart, California. Justin Siena High School, California. Georgetown Visitation, Washington, D.C. St. Ignatius College Prep, San Francisco. Xavier College Prep, California. Loyola School, New York. Verbum Dei High School, Los Angeles. Loyola High School, Los Angeles. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. All right, here we go.
All right, you guys, I have an announcement to make. This is the memory book. Everybody say hi to the memory book. Oh, that actually worked. Okay, this book is going to be part of how we are going to help transition from the location that has been our home for the last dozen or so years to our new location, details to come tomorrow. The book will be out on a table out in the main hall. Please, please, please try to sign this book between now and Mass tomorrow. Name, school, doesn't need to be, or whatever your affiliation is, doesn't need to be long, but please try and make an effort to get to the book. Awesome. And now I'm going to invite Father Don McMillan from Boston College up.
Wait a minute, I'm not it. I'm introducing somebody who is it. So, I'm Father Don McMillan, campus minister at Boston College, and that's where I first met our next speaker. Our next speaker is Sarah Berger. When she came to BC, I met her in her first year. She had already been down here to Columbus, Georgia for 4 years before that, all through her high school, along with her uncle Bob Holstein, who with Charlie Curry created and come up with this idea of the Ignatian Family Teach-In. Bob is now with God, but he's very presente with us tonight. Sarah learned more as the years went on and taught much about social justice. She is unbelievably firm in her commitment, faithful, intelligent, full of wisdom. She now works at the World Bank. When she called me to tell me she was hired there, I screamed through the phone, "Finally, we've infiltrated the World Bank." Sarah is our mole in the World Bank. She's not a teller there. She's a personal friend of mine, as of many, many people. She's also a Facebook friend of mine, and that's where we share a lot. But she's just like all of you. She has grown up just like all of you. She has learned just like all of you. She is a young woman who gets it, and I'm really honored to introduce her to you, Sarah Berger.
Good evening. How's everyone doing tonight? Okay, I was really disappointed. I told Ted before I got on stage, I have not heard a shout for Boston College. Very, very proud. And Georgetown? Small, but here. Well, thank you again for having me here tonight. So we've had a lot of reflection about what has brought us here, as Father Kevin already brought up. And I know it's not for the Waffle Houses. I know the waffles are good, but it's probably not for the Waffle Houses. All joking aside, though, as we conclude our evening tonight, I want to invite all of us to reflect a little bit about the journeys that have brought us here. Most of them long. Believe me, I've driven down here, I've flown down here. It's a long journey. But most of them are exciting and eventful, full of old and new faces. To help out with this reflection, I wanted to share with you a little bit about my camino a la realidad, or journey to reality. To do this, I want to start with the image of a table. Why a table? Now imagine a table. It can be any table. It could be a picnic table, a sofa table, a dining room table, a patio table. It has to be a table that someone can sit at, though, so no poker tables or ping pong tables. So does everyone have an image of a table? Okay. There's going to be a lot of people sitting around this table. Now, I start with this image because it was an image given to me by my Uncle Bob Holstein when I was 14. We had gone to his house, and he said to me, Sarah, the Eucharistic table is it's a big celebration. There's a lot of people around it, and it's a party. This image has stuck with me over time, and only recently have I begun to see this image in my life surfacing. So to reflect on our journeys, I start with this image because I believe we are all sitting at this table. Young, old, poor, rich, male, female, gay, straight, we are all here. Using this image, I'm going to touch on 3 themes: remembering, relationships, and reconciliation. So remembering, we've talked a lot about remembering tonight, or to remember the martyrs and the people who have died innocently throughout the world. But I want to invite you all to remember when you were first invited to sit at this table of social justice. Who invited you? Where were you? For some of you, it may have been your first trip to Fort Benning. For others, it may have been an immersion trip to Mexico, El Salvador, the Bronx, East LA, New Orleans. Or for others, it just may have been a simple conversation or an encounter with a complete stranger. For me, it was in Riverside, California, and it was with my Uncle Bob Holstein. I'll never forget this invitation. It was the summer of 1996, and my Uncle Bob had just been released from federal prison after crossing the line here at Fort Benning. We were having a party at his place to celebrate his release and his homecoming. And about halfway through the party, I found myself deeply engaged in a conversation with him about starting my freshman year in high school. While he listened intently, I could tell the wheels in his head were turning. Bob had a way of convincing anyone to commit to almost anything, and I'm not kidding. Before I had a chance to finish telling him about my classes, he asked me if I wanted to join him, my Aunt Loretta, and cousins down at Fort Benning. His timing was impeccable, however, because at that moment, my parents walked up. And my mom gave me that look, and she said to me, "Honey, we'll talk about this in the car on the way home." Before I had the chance to open my mouth, though, and commit, Bob could already tell that I was thrilled to have this invitation to the table. Now, coming from Orange County, California, the OC, I have to tell you that the news of the Uca martyrs, the churchwoman, the massacre at El Mozote were all shocking at the age of 14. But they moved me to start asking deeper and profounder questions. So with some convincing, that November, I promised my parents I would not be arrested and jumped on a plane to Fort Benning. In 1996, 300 of us gathered at the gates of Fort Benning. There was no fence then, it was just us. We sat there breaking bread and celebrating the Eucharist. I had been invited to the table. I remember how excited I was to be part of something bigger than myself. I touch on this theme of remembering because I think if we all look deep into our own hearts, we will all remember when we were first invited to that table, where we were, what we felt. Remembering these first roots of social activism, of practicing a faith that does justice, is what drives us to take part in something that is bigger than ourselves and bigger than this weekend. So remember what your first invitation was like and who invited you. The second theme, relationships. I'm growing ever more convinced that every day in our journeys are some of our relationships with other people, relationships that have been formed at this very table. At the table, we develop relationships that inspire us. We develop relationships that challenge the core of who we are, We develop relationships that show us worlds we never knew existed, and we develop relationships that teach us to love unconditionally. Since my invitation to the table, my journey has taken me places that I could have never imagined, to meet people that have altered my life in the most profound ways. Tonight, I want to share 2 recent stories. The first one was just about a couple months ago. I've been teaching classes, citizenship classes, on Saturday to give Salvadoran immigrants the opportunity to become citizens of the United States. And my relationship with my citizens has grown, or with my students has grown over time. 3 weeks ago, I went to the airport in Dulles and saw one of my students who had just received his citizenship. He passed the exam. And he came running up to me, profesora, tengo mi pasaporte, soy ciudadano. And he was ecstatic. He hadn't seen his family in 2 years. That relationship has changed my belief in what is going on in El Salvador. The second one I want to talk about has only developed recently in DC. It's my relationship with my colleagues at the World Bank. Now, I'm not here tonight to tell you about the good and bad things of the World Bank. If you ever have been to the DC, you will know that every big bureaucracy has its flaws. But what I will tell you is that the relationships that I have formed with my colleagues at the bank are some that I will maintain professionally for life. Believe it or not, the bank is full of men and women that were invited to the table of social justice, just like all of us, a long time ago. I have found that in speaking to most of them, and if you ask them to remember their first invitation to the table or about relationships they have formed, they usually jump into a story about their first protest or first exposure to a movement. So tonight, reflect on your relationships. Who has influenced you at the table? Who is sitting at your right and your left? What relationships have challenged your core? Finally, the last theme I leave you with tonight is reconciliation. I bring this up in the context of the table because I don't think we as a society reflect on it enough. We live in a divided world, a very, very divided world. Differences between the rich and the poor, the young and the old, between ethnic groups, between religions. The differences seem to keep pulling us apart, whether it be health reform, immigration rights, poverty, or education. We are living in a divided society. I have learned over the years, though, that the power of reconciliation is key at the table. If we cannot learn to reconcile our differences with one another, then the table will be overrun by corruption, hatred, and deceit. A few weeks ago, when I was in El Salvador for work, we were negotiating $150 million with the government, which is covering 2 different projects. One will be providing temporary income support and training for 43 of the most precarious urban communities in El Salvador. And the other one, which I was pleased, I don't know if Candy is still here tonight, but will be going to support the school feeding program and the school utilities that she mentioned tonight. So it's great to see that the World Bank's work is actually going to have an effect. But we were down there negotiating. Part of negotiations with the World Bank means sitting with the opposition parties, letting them know what the projects that the government is about to take on, and hoping to gain their support. In an early morning meeting, we met with the party leaders of ARENA, and to my great surprise, I sat directly in front of the son of Roberto Dovisan. My world has come full circle. For most of you who know, Roberto Dovisan was the man responsible for designing the death squads in El Salvador during the Civil War. To be sitting across the table from the table that I've been talking about, to be sitting across the table from his son was shocking. While I did not agree with nearly anything he had to say, I was at the table with him. At some point, we did reconcile our differences and agreed to disagree, to recognize that these projects and the effects of these projects were bigger than the both of us. They were not about us. They were not about the politics. They were about the people. In this divided world, how does reconciliation play a role in your life? Have you ever found yourself running from reconciling your differences? As we participate and become part of this table throughout this weekend and throughout our journeys, I want to close tonight by inviting you again to reflect on these three themes. Remembering, what did you first feel when you were invited to this table? Where is that passion? Your relationships. Who has challenged you to continue to seek hope? Who continues to invite you back to the table when you're astray? And reconciliation. How are we reconciling our differences? Each one of us has our own journey. And may it be through our journeys that our experience at the table be richer. Thank you.
Okay, so second to last roll call bit of the night. Loyola Academy, Chicago. St. Xavier High School, Cincinnati. St. John's Jesuit High School, Toledo. Mercy High School, Michigan. St. Peter's Prep, New Jersey. And Xavier High School, New York. It is my pleasure to introduce to you guys our next speaker, but before I do that, I have some sad news. Unfortunately, Roy Bourgeois, the founder of SOA Watch, would normally come and speak at this time, but he is currently at home in Louisiana with his ailing father. So I'd like to ask that we take a moment of silence to pray for Roy and his family. Thank you. And it is now my pleasure